buckle up for a new episode of You and the Law Podcast, the one and only law enforcement podcast that's tackling critical policing and social justice issues and provides insights into the daily realities of policing with your host, Chief Virgil Green.
I want to welcome you to another episode of You and the Law Podcast. I am the host of the show, Chief Virgil Green, and as always, I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in and join us for definitely another informative guest that we're going to have on the show. He's no stranger to You and the Law Podcast. I am going to be talking with the author who is behind this book that you definitely need to make sure that you pick up. It is Drama Behind the Badge, a true love story. And it is written by Reggie. And he is a former military veteran, former law enforcement officer. And he has this amazing book out. And if you can definitely, throughout the podcast, we're going to talk about where you can find the book at. But let me bring on my guest to the podcast. There he is. What's going on?
How you doing, Chief? Good to see you.
I'm doing good, sir. Good to see you. Good to have you back on You and the Law Podcast.
Good to be back on the You and the Law podcast. Good to be back.
All right. Well, you know, we've done several series before talking about your new book, Drama Behind the Badge, a true love story. And so, you know, the first podcast we did, I didn't put the true love story in there. You kind of corrected me, so now I got it right, brother. It is Drama Behind the Badge, a true love story.
What am I trying to tell the audience?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna let you tell the audience that. You're the man behind this amazing book, and you know, I've been reading it. And I have to tell you, it is definitely, something that people need to pick up and read because you're definitely letting us know what you experienced in the military, what you experienced in law enforcement, and because again, there's a lot of drama behind the badge, but there's a lot of good stories behind the badge as well.
Right. And what I'm trying to share with you, the drama that I ensued, I can't tell people how to read the book, but what I'm really trying to say is not woe is me. I'm not trying to blame anybody. I'm not mad. I'm not bitter. But I did go through a lot of drama, Chief. A couple wrongful terminations, guy dies in my hand, guys threatening my life, just a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But the true love story portion of the book is that regardless of all the stuff I went through, how God sustained me and gave me enough strength to get through it.
Yeah. Well, and that's what matters. At the end of the day, you're able to tell this story about what your experience. And obviously, with you being a former military veteran, being a former law enforcement officer, there's a lot of drama behind that. But also, this is something that you and I talked about is the fact that, mental health is a very serious conversation. And we need to have that conversation in public safety about the challenges that men and women go through, whether you're in the military, whether you're in law enforcement. People do experience, what's called PTSD. And so, and I know throughout your career, you came across a lot of people that were experiencing some of those symptoms.
Yes, sir. And like I said, I started law enforcement in 1990. So it was a different day, different culture. Not a lot of blacks in law enforcement during that time.
Yes.
And what I wanted to share with you, there were some good things. The good things of to me about law enforcement at that time, I was traveling, I was flying with prisoners. All of that was exciting. The public really treated me well. Criminals treated me well, but I had a lot of problems with inside the house of law enforcement.
Hmm.
So that's where I came up with a lot of the drama for me.
Yeah. Well, so and I've been going through the book, and it's interesting that you bring that up because I had just got through reading a portion of that that you shared in the book that back in 1999 you said had worked in plain clothes unit chasing felons,
Right.
and that you were on a I guess like a transport unit, and that you would pick up people in New Mexico, which is my home state. Uh,
Okay.
Pick up people in Alabama. You even flew into Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there definitely had to be interesting because you're flying all over the country,
Wow.
picking up inmates, bringing them back to California. Kind of, what was that experience like?
That was good. That was good. That was good. I was learning different things because a lot of people don't understand when prisoners are being extradited, the governor from, like, say for instance, New Mexico has to sign off on it. Then the governor of San Diego had to sign off. Their officers had to sign off. We couldn't just go snatch somebody. We had
Yeah,
to have the right paperwork. But I mean, it was a good experience. And we stand in the hotels. Uh, I mean, it was just good. And then you're talking to the inmate, making sure the inmate understands how we're going to travel. You usually go and meet them the night before, make sure that they good. If they good, or if they say, okay, no, I refuse to fly, which never happened to me. But if they refuse to fly, then we would have to drive them back.
yeah,
You follow
yeah,
me?
yeah.
And so it was just a good experience all the way around. I learned a lot.
Hmm.
Got to travel, uh, and just build camaraderie with the inmates. Tell them how we were going to make them understand how things were going to go. They were never uncuffed on the plane. We would always get load uh, load the plane first before any of the regular customers got on the plane, and then we would leave last, and they would sit us in the back row, so nobody knew that we were really traveling with the inmates, and because you didn't want to make the passengers uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you were with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, correct?
I was with the Marshals Department first,
First, okay,
and then
okay,
in 2000 we merged into the San Diego County Sheriff's Department.
okay.
Mhm.
All right. So from reading the book, you spent some time working inside of the courthouse.
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Okay. And if I recall, did you get some type of commendation? Was the commendation inside the courthouse or was it in
The
transport?
commendation I got is after we merged with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. I had left I mean, we merged into the Sheriff's Department. And so I felt like it was a new sheet of paper. So I was working in the transportation unit. At this point, I was driving the buses, and we were
Okay.
transporting the prisoners. And they really recognized uh, my hard work. What I was doing. I was working overtime, making sure somebody called in sick or they needed coverage somewhere, this, that, and the other. I would do it. So yes, I got a letter of accommodation from the sheriff's department. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and I think from reading the book, it was probably the first time that you had got some type of positive recognition for the hard work that you were doing.
Yes,
A-
sir.
and so and that's something that that's often overlooked, Reggie, is that uh, recognizing people their hard work, giving them commendation, of something that says, "Hey, thank you," goes a long way. And
Right.
especially if you're in a big agency where people can be often overlooked. And
Okay.
so one of the things that you had just mentioned, being a minority in this field. uh, so let me ask you this: inside of the courthouse, how many other black deputies were assigned that you work with inside of the courthouse?
Well, at the time, I want to say it was about. At the time, I want to say it was about 7 or 8 of us throughout the whole department,
Okay.
but we were scattered out because, let's say, I mean, to be very honest with you, San Diego is a big spot. We
Yes,
had
it
what,
is.
12, 12 courthouses.
Yes.
And so, you might have 2 blacks in this unit, 2 blacks in that unit. It wasn't a whole lot of us together. We were kind of separated. We were already a minority,
Yeah.
but we were separated even more.
Yeah. Well, and and I forgot to mention this, at the top of the podcast is that this is Black History Month,
Okay.
and so your book is part of Black history. I mean, you are a person who experienced some things in military and in law enforcement, and so it's real important to recognize those who have experienced and I'm gonna say this: there was some bad drama, but there was some good drama. But at the same time, acknowledging those challenges that you went through definitely made you to come out to be a much better uh, individual. Whether it was in
Could you please tell me where the good drama was, please?
when I'm not gonna, the good drama is, hey, you got, well, it's not drama, but you got recognized as for your outstanding
Yes, sir.
work. And
Yes, sir.
so
Yes,
but at
sir.
the same time, you know you had individuals, and by reading the book, there was individuals that for whatever reason they just wanted to be hard asses.
Okay, go ahead. You call
And
it. Okay.
you know
Mhm.
they, because I read where you end up getting, I think you got some type of a write up, or you got disciplined for something. But at the same time, as I think about it, where was the leadership in that? Did somebody sit down? Because I think you mentioned something about mud flaps. I think it had to do
Oh,
something with the
that's when I
trans.
was. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And what happened is I was driving the bus at the time. That's when they did the second termination. Uh, they, you get into an accident, you got to report it, this, that, and the other. Well, I was at the gas station. I got too close to the stanchion and it rubbed up against there and it messed up the mud flap. So I took it over to the garage. The guy said he could fix it. He fixed the mud flap. No harm, no foul. Wrong
Okay.
answer. I'll go park the bus. Bus, they see paint transfer, the next guy on the bus. They made a huge deal out of it. You thought I raped somebody on 16th Street. They made a massive investigation. And what happened is some of the supervision followed me from the marshal's department over to the sheriff's department.
Okay.
So what was happening when I got the letter of accommodation, now when the bus incident happened, now everything was erased, if you can understand. I mean, I had just got the accommodation.
How was it erased?
Well, the reason I said it was erased is because the investigation it was no longer looked at. It's not like I got the accommodation and now I'm facing this big termination again, second one, and nobody's talking about. I remember when the sergeant that came from the marshal department said, "Yeah, now here we go again. We're gonna slam him. We're gonna definitely get him this time." And I just want you to know that I really like the 2 guys that you had on last week because they
Yeah.
were talking about the management. the leadership.
The leadership. Yeah.
Yes, sir. They were talking about, and here we go again. Once you sit under bad leadership, I'm like you. I'm like I'm holding on. I'm like, okay, Captain, tell me where was this good drama at?
Yeah.
But you were right. I got a accommodation, but it was just very short lasting because here comes all the other stuff now. If you can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, and and again, when you talk about leadership, and you working with individuals who are supposed to be good leaders, but they're really not. And so, and one of the things that I've seen throughout the book that I've read is the fact that you worked under a lot of people who were in leadership positions. They, to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, they abused that leadership position, because there's a way to talk to people. There's a way to handle situations. And, just like last week, the guests I had on the podcast who we talked about, untrained leadership. People can think that they're trained to be leaders, but really, what kind of training have they had to be in that position?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I kind of have read throughout the book is that you dealt with a lot of people who were in leadership positions who probably shouldn't have been in leadership positions because they went way to the extreme. You had one, you know, termination, then you have another one. What is that about? At the end of the day, are you trying to help a person with their career? Or are you trying to ruin somebody's career?
Well, not only that, I want you. A lot of people, Captain. I think sometimes we talk over people's head because people don't really, to me, understand what a wrongful termination is. Me and you understand what a wrongful termination is,
Yes,
and
sir.
the big part about it, I think, is I can't come in and say, "Oh, Captain got mad at me and he fired me, did me wrong." Blah blah. That's not a wrongful termination. A wrongful termination is you lined everything up to get rid of me, and you had your attorney and your legal representation to defend the department. I had 30 days to get my attorney in place, which I did because I was a fighter, and uh, and then they meet, and then it's people in the community, professional people in the community, to say, "Hey, come on." And
This ain't
this is the
right.
part I think is bad about law enforcement. Now you're a chief, and a lot of people don't understand that. But you're not used to, I guess, the upper level. You talking to the mayor or something. They said, "Okay, no, chief, we're not going to do this." But I don't get to tell you no. Other people don't get to tell you no. We don't. They don't get to return over your decisions. But what I learned with the wrongful termination, yeah, the people in the public, they have the power to say, "Chief, we disagree with what you did. Put this guy back to work,
Hmm.
pay him all his money back, give him all his benefits back." Um, and this was really hurting me. I don't know if you noticed because I talked about my daughter was 4 years old at the time, and she had asthma.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when we went to the hearing, the captain goes, "Hey, we didn't know he had an asthmatic daughter." Well, I'm sitting there saying, "It's really not your business that I have an asthmatic daughter. It's kind of my business as her dad to
Yeah.
take care of her. If you take care of me, I can take care of her.
Yes.
But if you don't take care of me, now there's a big problem." And so the commissioner told them, "My daughter better not ever go have without medical insurance, and you need to put him back to work because what you did was very, very wrong." And then going back to work, and I think I even asked you, I said, "What did you think was harder, getting fired or going back to work?" And you even said it. "Oh, going back to work." I'm like, "Oh, okay. You're right, Captain, going back to
Yeah.
work." And
Yeah.
so what I'm trying to say to you is that in this law enforcement, and now we're talking about mental health coming up in May. Mental health.
Mental health
Ne-
awareness month. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what I'm trying to say to you, Nobody in law enforcement wants to talk about the hard stuff. And I was asked the other day, hey, do you want to come to we acknowledging the mental health for law enforcement and you can sell books and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, wow, you're going to be giving these guys accolades, this, that, and the other. Then I'm going to be in the back talking about drama behind the badge. That's no, it's kind of conflicting.
Yeah,
And what I'm
yeah,
trying to say to you, I told him, I said, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be on that part because it's not like I have to sell a book. But what I'm really trying to do is do the hard conversation in law enforcement that nobody wants to talk about. I was
yeah.
at the sheriff's department this morning. We don't want to discuss it, but our suicide rate is off the chain.
It
It's
is.
it's blowing up, and it can. It's to me, it's a phenomenon about everybody's overlooking it, and I'm like, hey, we can do better.
Yeah, you're right. I had actually just came across an article on LinkedIn yesterday.
I
Uh,
sent you an article. Did you see it?
yeah, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. And I came across another article where, and I connected with the person who put the article out there, and it has to do with the suicide rate in law enforcement. And and so again, it is something that I said this to you the other day. We talked about May being mental health awareness month. uh Mental health awareness is something that should be talked about 365 days a year. Yeah, 1 month out of the year, there's a lot of awareness around it, but this is something that is happening every single day, especially in the military, in law enforcement, and in public safety, first responders. And so, so one of the things we haven't really talked about this the last couple of episodes on the podcast is that, you know, going from the military, coming into law enforcement, and experiencing and seeing some of the things that you experienced, and also, the the trauma that you experienced. How, when you talk to people about the book, kind of explain that to me and to those who are listening. How is that for you to really open up and to talk about it? It's in the book, but you know, how do you feel when you're talking to people about that? Does it bring up any memories that you're like, hey, I just don't want to really talk about that?
No, no, no. Because what I'm finding out, I always tell people what me and you refuse to talk about remains the same. But if we talk about it, we can at least know it's there.
Yes, sir.
Things that we try to ignore, they stay the same. And what I want to try to tell you, Captain, I can't say that I didn't have some bad drama because I mean some good drama because if you notice, Deputy Harp, it's like when I look back on it and I'm talking to people, God was all the ways in my career because Deputy Harp, he was a Caucasian guy, but he would encourage me. He would walk me to my car. He wouldn't do it in front of the other guys, but he would just help me. And I used to always think about it. The Bible says, be careful how you entertain strangers because just might be an angel unaware. And then one day we were in the locker room and I said, hey man, you looking bad. He said, oh, I just got a bad donut. I'm too hungry to
a
die.
bad a bad a bad donut, huh?
Yeah. He said, I'm too hungry to die. Just got a bad donut. And so I give him his little privacy. I turn around, he's full cardiac arrest.
No,
So, like I
wow.
told you, I go down there, I go to work on him. Then, what psychologically hurt me for years, I couldn't figure it out. Why? I was the only one. I'm pumping on him, I'm breathing on him, even
You're
between
trying to
breath.
put life back into him. Yeah.
I'm asking people, somebody call 911. His wife was the sergeant on the department. I mean, I'm going through all these things, and these guys have froze on me. And so I didn't understand that for years. Psychologically, I was thinking, okay, why didn't they help? Was it because I'm a black man and I'm sitting here, I'm the only black man in the locker room breathing in this white guy's mouth? Now, what got me, I didn't see color because military didn't teach us that way. It's when a soldier goes down, you go down and you try to take care of what's yours.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so law enforcement, from that point forward, it taught me, yeah, no, this is not the same game. We're
Yeah.
not talking the same game because I don't understand how these guys get froze when, to me, that was the pinnacle of what we live for in law enforcement. When one of ours go down, we want
You,
to go to work and help them.
yeah.
Tell
You're
me I'm
supposed.
wrong.
No, you're right. You're supposed to be right there. You're supposed to be right there.
And so when he dies, and this guy was like a role model, man, within the department. So then when he died, it bothered me because he was helping me so much quietly, if you can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah. And so when I do, I want to answer your question. When I'm talking to people, I'm soft with it, but I don't let it trigger me because I was talking in one group and a guy told me, he goes, "Oh, you guys were, the blue blood." Well, I said, "Sir, the blue blood never worked for me. I
Yeah.
don't know nothing about the blue blood.
Yeah.
It that didn't exist for me."
That, exactly. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when you say when I'm talking, and then I had one guy stand up, and he was a military guy, and he told me, he says, "Hey man, I read your book, and I seen the part that you were talking about when you were yelling and you loud and nobody heard you." He says I was able to relate to that, and when he talked, uh, because I was standing up talking and doing what I do, man, I wanted to sit down because emotionally it was the room was high. So I feel like it's a calling that God allows me to do. But I'm telling you, Captain, Chief, sometimes when I'm talking and people hit me, I just know this is what I'm supposed to be doing because I see them healing and I continue to heal. If
Yeah.
that's answering your question.
Yeah. So you've been traveling. You've been traveling across between Texas and California doing book signings.
Hmm.
What has been some of the what has been what's kind of stood out from you when you're out talking about the book and some of the questions that you're getting from people who have read the book? Uh, you kind of share some of that with me and the listeners.
Well,
Uh,
once I got back, uh, is it just me and you today, or do we have anybody that's
uh,
actually
we,
trying to
we
engage?
we've got some people on YouTube and on Facebook.
I just
Uh,
want to. I'm hoping
but
to encourage them to try
yeah,
to
so I
try to.
want to
But what
yeah.
are you asking me? What are some of the what?
So let me say this. If you're listening on Facebook, there's a chat. You can put some comments in the chat and ask some questions throughout the podcast um, to the author of Drama Behind the Badge: A True Love Story. Um, but again, I want to thank those who are tuning in on YouTube and Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. If you're watching and listening on LinkedIn, you can put some comments into the chat uh, and ask some questions to Reggie about his book, Drama Behind the Badge Story. Drama Behind the Badge: A True Love Story. But so the question I was asking, you've been out doing some book signings across the country. What's been some of the things that stood out to you, when people are asking you some questions about the book?
Well, people are getting because when I came back to Texas, one lady says, "Reggie, I read your book, and I know it was really heartfelt." Some of the comments I'm getting from other old law enforcement people. Man, you're really putting it out there, the whole line. And then we're doing a workbook And my therapist that was working with me at the time, I'm trying to get her to do a forward in my workbook, and I think she's gonna do it. But she's like, "Well, private practice. I don't need to expose you." I'm like, "Hey, I'm exposing myself. I'm not worried about that. My goal is to try to do the mental health piece because I feel like for years I put on a facade. I told people I was okay, and I was looking at something. I want one of the best decisions I've made when I was in law enforcement is letting somebody know, even if it was a doctor, that I was struggling. I was going through stuff because as a law enforcement officer, you feel like that's a sign of weakness if you can't
If you,
handle it and you can't do this and or they gonna do something. They gonna take my job if I tell them I'm struggling with this or I'm struggling with that. And that's not always true, Chief. I'm pretty sure you know that, but there's a stigma that people are afraid. So when I'm talking to people, it's just like when I was a cop. I did well in the public. Now I got people here doing book signings. I'm going to meet with them. I'm meeting with a group. It was about 7 or 8 of them that read the book. Now they want me to meet them for dinner on the 23rd. I'm just talking to people and I'm just really trying to educate people. I'm not one of those cops that are into the game of let's sugarcoat it. Well, my shoes are shining. I got military creases in my shirt. I'm tight. I'm good. I'm this, that, and the other.
yeah,
No, I want to talk about, you know, living an alternate lifestyle because there's a lot of people like that in law enforcement. And you having problems at a home, you having marital problems, you having uh, you drinking more than you need to be drinking. You
alcoholism.
looking
Yeah,
at stressful situations. We dealing with money situations. It just corrupt. You got three of law enforcement. They call them a beat wife. You ain't understanding what I'm saying.
yeah,
A beat wife is mean you got a girlfriend or two on the beat.
yeah, yeah,
It just
yeah.
goes
But
on.
that's some old school talking right there.
See,
That's some old school talking there. Hey, Rachel, we got a comment in the chat from Dr. Kareem, who is watching on LinkedIn. Dr. Kareem, we want to thank you for tuning in.
man,
He said he just logged in. He says, "What goes on behind the badge?" That's a question. What goes on behind the badge? And then he said it takes a different type of courage to do that. So, what goes on behind the badge?
a lot of corruption, a lot of negativity, a lot of toxic. I was listening to a guy talk about the other day. It's toxicity goes on behind the badge. Nepotism goes on behind the badge. A lot of unfairness goes on behind the badge. And then when you try to, if you notice, law enforcement is a culture. They do not want the public to get too close to what's going on. They don't really want to tell the real truth. They want to police themselves. They don't want somebody to come in and try to say, "Hey, you guys need to do this a different way." And so when I'm trying to answer the doctor's question, there's a lot of corruption that's going on. Somebody once told me absolute power means absolute corruption. So if you don't have nobody looking at you, and like I told you earlier, who says no to the chief?
Well, and one of the things, and as we talk about, just the world of policing, you know, uh, you're not too blue. You're black, but you're not too blue. And so,
Now
th-
that's old school.
yeah.
What do you mean true blue? What do you mean
well,
true blue?
and and the thing of it is, it, there's, and this is something that's been going on for decades and decades. That it depends on if you're on the West Coast, the East Coast, the South, or wherever you're at. If you're black in law enforcement, you've experienced racism. You've experienced being treated differently. And
From who? From who? From who?
you be from those that you work with.
But there, okay, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you
Okay,
know
go ahead.
the and so in the conversations are, you don't hear a lot of people talking about the experiences that black men and black women experience, whether they're working with a police department or a sheriff department, or being a state trooper. There are things that people of color experience different than the other race. And one of the things is that you're doing the same job that the next man and woman is doing, but you're being treated differently. And when
Well, you
something
told me that on the first call and on the first interview that I had with you, and I kind of held back tears because you told me, you like, Reggie, you go through some things that you shouldn't have had to struggle. And I'm like, okay, Chief, where you been all my life? And then you said to me, law enforcement originated from what, slave trade or what?
law enforcement, and this is a conversation that people do not like to have, uh, Reggie, and I'm pretty sure Dr. Kareem has been around a long time as well. But law enforcement originated out of slave patrol.
Slave patrol.
And I don't want to get too far out from talking about the book Drama Behind the Badge, but one of the things is that you know black people have been rounded up for decades and centuries. And so when you get into modern policing, when down in the South, what did you think that was when you looked at, you got black people just trying to live normal lives, trying to go to work, trying to go and trying to vote, but you got people who are law enforcement who are inserting themselves into not allowing that to happen. And so then you got people running around trying to find black people because, oh, hey, you went and said something or you did something. What is that? That just kind of goes back to the slave patrol. But then you have people now, Reggie, who are saying, well, I didn't do that. I didn't experience that. But, and I've said this, you got to know the origin of policing. And people will say, well, the origin of policing came from Sir Robert Sir Robert Peel. But which some of that may be true, but then you got to go back and look at the slave patrol to see how black people and brown people were treated by people, and look at how black and brown people are being treated now. And just what we're experiencing with this whole ICE
Yeah,
immigration
go
stuff
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
is very similar. You're running around trying to pick up all these people who you're saying who are undocumented, but they haven't committed a crime. They're trying to go through the process the legal way, but now all of a sudden that legal way is not the right way. So you're rounding them up and you're trying to send them back to where what country you think that they need to go back to. So but Dr. Kareem puts in the chat, it's called slave catching, you know.
And see, my issue is getting back on the book. I talk about James Byrd. A lot of people don't know about James
James
Byrd.
Byrd, yeah.
James Byrd, I believe it was 98. He was walking home in Jasper, Texas, and some Ku Klux Klan man he didn't know at the time drove up next to him and asked him if he needed a ride or if he wanted a ride. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll take a ride. Well, make a long story short, they end up chaining him to the back of their car
To the truck,
and drug him a truck and
yeah.
drug him all through the town. And they said most of the time when he was being drugged, he was still alive. Well, what happened to me? I walk in my locker room. I told you, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks after I'm trying to save this guy's life. And these guys are talking about copycatting James Byrd. And guess who? Guess who? Uh, the the corporate was going to be. It was me. They were talking about me. I'm like, these are guys that I work with. And so James Byrd thought he would be safe enough to get in the car and ride with these guys, and they drug him to his death.
Yes.
Now I'm working with these guys. I'm in a car with them every other night. You never know who you're going to be with, and they talking about taking my life. Okay, I'm pissed. I go in, tell the administrators. Well, guess what the administrators try to do? They try to kick it under the rug. They try to smooth it over. And I'm like, are you serious? The guy that made the accusation, they allowed him to go on stress leave. Now, when you once allow, if you know anything about an investigation, the longer it takes you to investigate, the weaker the case gets. Tell me I'm right or tell me I'm wrong.
You're definitely right.
You want to jump on it so you can see, well, they're giving this guy stress leave, this, that, and the other. And then, so I had EEOC come in, and they came in, which was the Equal Opportunity Commission, and look at the department. I was pissed. I'm like, no, I shouldn't have to work like this. I'm working in a hostile environment. I'm a cop, and these other cops are talking about taking my life. And so this was very, very hard for me. And then when I went to the chief or went to the administrators, we'll handle it.
Just kind of, yeah.
Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. So I want to get to a comment that's in the chat from Dr. Kareem. He puts in there that he was hired to police a predominantly black community because it wouldn't look like racial profiling when he arrested people. And I don't know if you can see that up on the screen there, Reggie.
Okay, but go ahead. You tell me. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so and one of the things I want to ask Dr. Kareem, if you want to share what part of the country this was in, because I'm only 62. Now I've talked to a lot of older black police officers, in Oklahoma, Texas, and other parts of the country, where back in the 50s and the 60s, black police officers were not allowed to arrest white people. Black police officers had to work predominantly, in their own communities. And if they did arrest someone, and I know, this happened in Oklahoma City, where if they did arrest someone, they had to handcuff them to a light pole, and a white police officer would come and pick them up and take them to the jail. Black police officers were not even allowed in the 60s to take anybody to jail. And I think, the one thing that really disturbed me is the fact that these are things that happen to black men and black women, but nobody wants to talk about it. It's right. These things, but we're talking maybe 30 years ago, maybe 40, 50 years ago, maybe. But even when you look at how, we've got more black men and more black women who are in leadership positions through across the country. But even as we celebrate and talk about Black History Month, why is it always somebody has to be the first? Because it's taken people who look like me and you a very long time to be accepted and to be put in these positions. And then when you get into these positions, and we had this conversation on the podcast before, when black men and black women are put in these positions as leadership of these police departments, and something doesn't work right, then they'll say, well, see, we gave you that opportunity,
right?
But you were not able to advance what we thought that you could do. But why is it that you're giving other people way more opportunities and way longer chances for departments to turn around? And so, again, I think there always been a level playing field for black men and black women in law enforcement? No, it hasn't. And what you experienced, with the, out in San Diego is a prime example of that. And one of the things that's in the book that you you write about Judge Willis,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
who was a juvenile court judge at the
Right.
time,
Right.
and it seemed, talk to us about Judge Willis.
Man.
How was Judge Willis?
Judge Willis was, I watched him be a DA. I watched him become a judge. Once he became a judge, I was down, and I still want to touch on Dr. Kareem's question
Yeah, go ahead.
because, and that goes back to Slave Patrol, what you're talking about. They saying if we can handle, we'll police our own,
Yeah.
and that don't work because, to be honest with you, we don't police like they police.
No.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, we don't police like they police.
No.
And they want to be able to tell us where and how to do this. And what I'm trying to tell you is trauma just dealing in the police department. Me and you can talk about it now because we probably retired or whatever. Man, it took me 13 years just to debrief from this stuff, just
Yeah.
to breathe again.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you understanding me?
Oh yeah. I definitely am. Definitely am.
And
Yeah.
so what I'm trying to say to you is that yeah, policing our own. Yeah, we're gonna police. I'm gonna do this, but I'm not putting my neck in nobody's foot, and I gotta do what you call 844, where white guys they don't even have to knock on the door. I gotta knock and notice. San Diego Police Department.
Hold on, just a second. Let me get Reggie back on. We kind of
That's okay.
kind
That's
of
okay.
lost you. Yeah, we kind of lost
That's
you there.
okay. But I'm
Yeah.
telling you, they used to call it 844. You had to knock and notice. White boys didn't have to do that. They just went on in people's
They,
house.
they just went on and kicked in the door.
And so, and then we still grade it, and they get it's just it's just not working. And then when I'm telling you, when I look at ICE, I say two wrongs don't never make a right.
You're right.
And what I say to you is that when you look at law enforcement, you want seasoned officers talking about what's going on because we're gonna tell you the truth. Because I ain't worried about nobody doing nothing to me. So what I'm trying to sit up and say, two wrongs don't make a right. When you look at what these ICE agents are doing, it's wrong. They got on masks. We couldn't police like that. You
No,
couldn't do that.
no, you're not going to see a typical, a normal law enforcement officer nowhere across the
Come on.
country running around with masks, and unless it's some type of special SWAT operation or something
Okay,
like
go
that,
ahead.
and that's very rare. Dr. Kareem puts in the chat that he was a police officer in North Carolina, and if you know anything about North Carolina, you know that's there was definitely a lot of racism in that part of the country.
Well, what I wanted to tell you and tell Dr. Kareem, this might help him. When I was flying and extraditing and going and getting prisoners out of the prison from these little towns, the officers would look at me different, like I was out of my league. I wasn't supposed to be there,
Yeah,
even though I had even though they would, I had all the paperwork. I need to come and get, but it was like, dang, who is this guy? So, and I'm listening to you. I was in law enforcement for 22 years. I was never accepted, and I knew it.
yeah. Well, so let me ask you this question. I mean, being in the military, coming over to law enforcement, and you just said something that's pretty, that you were never accepted. How did that feel? That you feel as a grown man who has served this country in the Navy, and now here you are in law enforcement, that you never felt
Yeah,
accepted.
let me share something with you. In my book, there's a chapter. I don't know if you looked at it. They said I was skipping the line. And what that was talking about is I used my military benefits to go to school. So we did not have a black that was promotable. But now, once I went to school, I became promotable. And so the marshal put me in front of a whole lot of white people and I got promoted. Well, I told you before that put a tag on my back. You know the game. Now my training is extended. They're trying to fire me. They're trying to get me out of the game. I can't do nothing right. I'm in training. One day I'll do real well. The next day I'm not doing well. It's a big game. That's the only thing I can tell you. But serving my country and
Oh,
then
my
coming
different.
back to a little county, I don't know if I talked to you about it in the book, but man, I was going to London on things. I was flying to London by myself, unescorted. So that means I had to find my room. I had to do all this other stuff. And now I come back and I can't police in a little county job.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say to you, I'm very proud to serve my country. I was treated well in the military. You do well, you do your job, you get promoted, you respect it. They taught us to adapt, overcome, improvise, do the best you can do for your family. But when I got into law enforcement, oh no. And so when
Whole
you
different game.
man, you tell me it was a paramilitary organization. Now I tell people all the time in law enforcement, you throw a bone at us, chief. You have a promotion coming up for a training officer or whatever, and you have all these guys getting interviewed. Everybody's trying to figure out how many write-ups you got, why you don't qualify for this, that, and the other. For real, in the military, I would be standing in front of the man if my guys wasn't ready for promotion. You're not understanding.
Yeah.
If they didn't do all the requirements, why aren't you guys ready? So what I'm trying to say to you, sir, it was a total different game in the military for me versus law enforcement. Total
Okay.
different. Mhm.
Okay. Hey, we got another question in the chat, and I'm trying. It's they're on YouTube. Again, want to thank you for watching on YouTube. And
Man,
the comment is: did you experience a sense of brotherhood amongst other black officers?
no. Yes, we were kind of tied, but then you have an officer like me. I don't care. I mean, because I'm coming from the military. Military taught me how to fight.
Yeah.
They taught me how to defend myself. And then you had some black officers that were just succumb to the situation, just go along to get along. And so the brotherhood was there, but not when the stuff rolled down the hill. They were going to back up, and you were by yourself.
You were by yourself. Well, so let me ask you this question. I mean, and it's that's a good question, to ask. Did you experience a sense of brotherhood amongst other black police officers? Because in this profession, you kind of find out who your friends are and who your friends are not. Uh, and the
Really?
fact, yeah, and the fact that you know y- y- there should be that brotherhood there, but it really does not exist because we don't always stick together, and I think that's one of the things that other people recognize.
When have we stuck together?
We haven't,
All
and
right, go ahead.
so let me ask you this now: how was that brotherhood in the Navy, in the military? Was there a difference of how other blacks in the military treated and respected each other versus how they treated and respected each other in law enforcement?
Definitely, yes. Yes, there was a difference. Once you got your rank, once you did this, that, and the other, now you're grooming and you mentoring people, whether they black, white, or blue. It don't matter. If
Okay.
you can understand what I'm saying. It's mentoring. You're mentoring, you're training, you're trying to get them in a position where they can take your job. You're trying to get these people so you want to be out of a job.
Yeah.
Well, that don't work like that in law enforcement. I'm not
No.
going to give you the stuff. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to. But in military, I need you to take my job so I can move on and you can move on
Yeah.
up. You
Yeah.
understand? But no, I want to say absolutely not. I didn't really see color
In the
in the
military.
military. I really
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
You just take care of each other. You're away from home. You got the conditions are different. It's about survival. It's about taking care of each other. You going out in a foreign country. You out in town. You guys got to pull together and take care of each other. Something go down. You got to cover each other. I didn't see that. I didn't see that in law enforcement, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Well, there's definitely a difference because even with the two guests I had on last week, both have served in the military, both served in the Marines, and as we talk about this here, Reggie, I just remember the movie Red Tails, about the black Tuskegee Airmen,
Go ahead. Okay.
and I don't know if yeah, and I know you've seen the movie The Red
Go ahead.
Tails, and
They were
so
flying, right? They
they
fly.
were flying, yeah,
Go ahead.
and so here they are, they're over in another country, and they're escorting these planes, and at first, they were like, hey, these black pilots cannot do the job.
Really,
Well, now
really.
they're seeing that they're able to do the job, and they're escorting them, and they're not losing, they're not getting shot down. But there was a scene in that movie where a lot of black soldiers went to this bar. It was only supposed to be, white officers in there. Well, once they realized that these guys were a part of that Red Tails
Come on.
uh,
Mhm.
squadron,
Come on.
they welcomed them. They became just like, and so, but you don't see that brotherhood in policing.
No.
And so, let me get to another question in the chat. It's performance of such critical work. Brotherhood would seem to be critical. Looking out for one another, being supportive, etc. What can be done to establish a brotherhood, and how does it start?
Wow. Well, I tell the person, thank you for that question. But what I struggle with psychologically, here's a white guy on the floor. I'm breathing in his mouth. There's about 25 other white guys, and they chose not to help me. And this guy dies. So I don't think you can teach brotherhood. I really don't. I just think it's in your core, is where you come from.
Who you are?
You know, I don't think you can make somebody be your
Well,
brother. It's
well,
just who you are.
well, and and I've said this, Reggie. You got to have it in your heart. If it's not in your heart, we can do all the DEI training, we can do all the de-escalation training, we can do all this training that is supposed to, a part of police reform. But if it is not in a person's heart to change, no amount of training is
Come on,
not
man.
going to
Come on,
teach
man.
that person to change anything.
And can you please tell the listener, because the job is so critical, and when we get into bad situations, their behavior is exposed.
Yeah.
When we get into a situation, we're in a domestic violence call, and you ain't paying attention. Guess what? I'm noticing because my life is,
It is on the line.
come on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's showing up, and it shows up right now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly. Hey, we got another question from Dr. Kareem in the chat, who is listening on LinkedIn, and he says, so the question is, when you go into another country, regardless if you are white or black, you are an American. In the States, within this system, race is a factor. You're definitely right, Dr. Kareem. I mean, this is probably, and I've said this, Dr. Kareem, and I've said this, Reggie, that policing is one of the most segregated occupations there is,
Okay.
because you can you can walk into a restaurant. It could be a Denny's or an IHOP. You got white officers sitting over here, and everybody works for the same agency.
Go.
But then on the other side of the restaurant, you got black officers sitting, and they both work for each other. And and people, again, it's 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 plain as day. You can see it, but nobody wants to acknowledge it, and nobody wants to talk about it. But how do you break those barriers down? Because again, if we're wearing the same color uniform, but we really don't get along.
Well, me and you are not really supposed to be there. And then what I found out in my law enforcement career, talking to the doctor, trying to address this question, once I finished the police academy, that means I had the certificate to be a police officer. And you can't tell me how to police. You can't tell me how to police. You can try.
No,
Uh,
okay.
what was the question coming up? Black Panther, what? Attempt?
So this is another comment in the chat from Dr. Kareem, who states that Black Panthers attempted to create programs for their own, and they were considered a threat by the system. The same condition exists within agencies, and so that's his comment. Again, Dr. Kareem, you're absolutely correct, because the Black Panther, they were just trying to help people in their own communities, but then you had the government trying to say that they were a threat to the system, who was not helping uh, the black community. And so, again, you don't have a lot of black. You do, and I'm not going to say you don't have a lot,
But
but
I seen, excuse me, Chief, I seen something different in the Black Panther, because I seen the Black Panthers starting to come together and unite to move forward.
yes,
And then the system itself seen us
correct.
uniting, and then they had to divide and conquer. There's nothing new here under the sun.
Yeah. Well, and again, and that's the one thing. I'm a part of an organization called Noble, which is the National Black Law Enforcement Executives. And it is it amazes me when we have our conferences. We have a march from the hotel to another facility, and year before last, it was in New Orleans. There were so many people who were standing along the streets, amazed at all these black men and black women from around the country who were dressed in their Class A uniforms, walking down the street. It is a sight that you have to see that many black men and women from around the country to see that togetherness there. But
Mhm.
and I'll say this: it's even in Noble, you don't see a whole lot of people, unless you're a part of certain cliques or groups, that are really trying to help the next person advance. And at the same time, you know, we all go through our challenges as being leaders, but you find people who, for whatever reason, this agency is going to, or this city is going to let you go, but now you got to try to find somewhere else. But if it's another race, hey, we got you another job already lined up.
Bingo, bingo. Hmm.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
so Dr.
No, no, no. Your job is done even before you let loose here. We done made a few connections, and you're going to be over here.
Oh
Uh-huh.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
so that's how we as a brotherhood supposed to take care of each other. But that question goes back up to, how do you change that? And again, we got to work together to help promote each other. And especially, yeah, we're talking about, this is Black History Month, but Black history should be every single day. Again, it's not a whole lot of us in this profession, but we need to be able to uplift each other. So when we do get into those positions, that you got that support. So we got another comment in the chat. Let me put that up on the screen. Sometimes change starts with one. Somebody has to start the ball start the ball rolling. So
That's a true statement.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
a true
it is.
statement.
Yeah,
And then we need not to evaluate so quickly what are the true accurate results of what we're having. You asked me today, you're like, Reggie, how your book sales going? I don't know, because I'm not at that point yet where I want to really look at the book sales, because I'm looking at just trying to get the book out there. I'm looking at just trying to get the message out there. I'm just trying to get it exposed,
yeah, yeah,
and then later evaluate that. So that's a true statement.
yeah. So as we talk about drama behind the badge, a true love story, what is it that you want people to, when they read the book, what do you want them to walk away from, to be able to say, man, that was powerful?
Okay, I want people to be able to. If you look at the back of my book, it talks about raw, unfiltered, straight telling the truth. I don't think law enforcement is used to it, because when they hear raw and unfiltered, it makes them uncomfortable. Are you understanding? So I want people to be able to stand up, regardless of how many, what nationalities in the room. Me and you out here in the podcast just telling them black officers are not treated right. What I'm trying to tell you, what I want you to take away from my book, is I served your country for 20 years, and I was mistreated in law enforcement like I was a second class citizen.
Y- You
That's
know,
what
and
I want you to take away. That's what I
it,
want you to take away.
well, and I have to say this, and I think that's one of the most disturbing things to hear is that you serve your country for 20 years honorably, but then when you come over into this profession of law enforcement, you're not treated the same.
Right.
And it's clear throughout this through through the book, the parts that I've read, when you talk about the drama, there is more drama than what it should have been. And that's what concerns me, is the fact, did a white person experience that same kind of drama?
Well,
Did a white person write a book about, hey, here is my drama. Here is my drama behind the badge, a true love story.
I don't know, but a lot of people ask me, why did you write the book? Why was it such a drive? And it's still a drive in me right now. It's a calling. I feel like it's a spiritual piece. God had me go through this. Now I need to share it. So I can't evaluate what you're doing. I just have to evaluate my life and my legacy and what I want to live and what I want to leave and tell law enforcement what's going on. And I'm not going to be afraid. I'm gonna sit. If you're a white guy, I'm sitting up there talking to you. Hey, I still say, Chief, the things that we don't talk about stay the same.
They
If
do.
we talk about them, then
They
we have
continue.
the opportunity to do something different.
Well, and that kind of goes back to the comment, that was put. Sometimes change starts with one.
Yes.
Somebody has to start the ball to roll, and that one person having that conversation, or two people having that conversation, uh, for change to start. On the back of the book, you said this is not just a story about survival. It's a story about the finding your voice when the world tries to silence you, and daring to be loud anyway.
Anyway, what I mean by that, you give an opportunity. You have a podcast. To me, I am honored to be here today. Every opportunity I get, I'm going to come and try to support this podcast, because you are a chief ex-chief or not working or whatever, I don't know. That's not my business.
Yeah, yeah,
But you are a chief and you have the courage enough to put together a platform which is unheard of. And
yeah.
some of the things that I've heard you talk about, you're doing what other chiefs won't do.
Well, and, I have to, and I appreciate you saying that because this podcast started 5 years ago with me and a real good friend of mine who
Okay.
is no longer on the podcast, but we were the founders and host of the podcast, and to be going into the 6th year doing this here,
Man.
uh, it says a lot, you
Okay.
know, and but it has definitely been uh, it's been a lot of fun doing it and having these conversations because these are tough conversations. And one of the things that he and I talked about a lot was is that we just don't see people who look like me and you talking about these topics that really need to be talked about. And I think it resonates with those who listen to the podcast, whether it's live or people listen to the rebroadcast of it,
Mhm.
because we need to have these tough conversations, and we need to have conversations about, like, drama behind the badge, a true love story, because somebody's going to hear your story, and they're going to walk away with saying, hey, man, I've experienced that.
Come on.
And so now they're able to figure out a way how to navigate what they're experiencing.
Yes, sir.
And so, uh, and this is just put in the chat. I want to get to this real quick. Uh, drama is a is an wow. Drama is an excellent, man. I cannot get that word out. Excellent book written with tenacity and courage because you share experiences that many never have, but probably should. Kudos, Reggie, for compelling a compelling story uh, and revealed. So again, and I want to say, I'm looking at the name in the comment, and I think this is somebody that Reggie, who is a part of your team. Uh, uh, and so, but again, I do not want to pronounce the name and get it wrong, so I won't say the name. But I think this is somebody that you're connected with who is helping you promote your book.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I thank them for their support. And we've been talking about it tonight. I can't do this by myself.
No.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
You're right.
absolutely not.
You're
Mhm.
right. You're right. So
And I'm thankful for the support. I'm thankful for the fact that you would even allow me time. Now, listen to me. And I have to use my math because I'm waiting for this book. And then all of a sudden, I have denture work I got to get done. And I'm like, okay, but I still got to do this because it's that
it,
important to me.
yeah.
And my biggest thing I want somebody to take away is yes, this happened to me. Yes, this was traumatic. But yeah, I can get through this. And yes, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You don't have to treat me this way. But I'm not going to be bitter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say, woe is me. I'm not going to blame people, but we are going to talk about it because Dr. King says the moment that me and you stop talking about things that matter is the moment that we begin to die.
Yeah. They do. They do.
I'm
Well,
done.
Dr. Kareem puts in the chat. He says, "I've ordered a copy." He appreciates the transparency as well. We need more like this. So you're right, Dr. Kareem. And I think one of the things is just having this platform, having
Yeah.
these type of conversations
Come
is
on,
really
God.
important.
Come on, man.
And we do have a large following, but there again, I want to encourage people to definitely follow the podcast because again, and I look to see what other people are talking about, who've got podcasts, and they're not really talking on some of the things that need to be really talked about. But at the same time, this is a podcast. You don't have to be a part of law enforcement to listen to this podcast. It's just not for people in policing, because I want to have these conversations that people don't want to have, because it's going to change. It's going to make a difference. One conversation, one voice, one guest is going to change.
And it
And so,
starts with one. It
yeah.
starts with one. Somebody came across with it tonight. And I'm telling you, man, Chief, I can't tell you thank you enough. I'm serious. I'm not
Well,
just,
well,
you
and I
know,
have to say this. When I got an email a couple months ago about your book, uh, wanting to get you to come on to be a guest on the podcast, I immediately returned that email and said yes, whatever I can do to get him on,
Mhm.
let's make it happen. And here we are, several months later. We're talking about this book that you have, Drama Behind the Badge. I got my copy.
All
I
right.
have, but I tell you what, when I see you in person, I'm gonna have to get it autographed, because you have to have an autographed copy from the author.
Yeah, so I might have to come and do that. And I'm telling you, it's interesting how autograph. I just want to say again, I know our time is almost up, but anything I can do, if I can come back, I don't
Oh,
do.
you're definitely going to be coming back, because this is a book that, even though this is our third time having you on the podcast,
Mhm, mhm.
this is a book that we're going to continue to talk about. Drama Behind the Badge, a true love story, because again, I want to be able to, for people to know, hey, how they can, what this book is about, where they can find the book, but at the same time, when they get the book, what was their experience from reading the book?
The workbook will help. The workbook will help them because, for example, I used, God delivered the children of Israel from Egypt, right out of bondage and slavery. Correct.
Yes, sir.
I feel like God delivered me out of law enforcement, which was bondage and slavery. I'm telling you, Doc, I after being in the military and having those two experiences,
There was
uh,
a difference.
boss, I can't tell you enough. I felt, and then what I said, because I came home with MS, I came home messed up with some PTSD, things that I seen, trauma I experienced, but whatever. I'm still here. I can still talk about it. I don't feel like what I've been through. I'm not blaming nobody. I'm just telling you this was my life. I'm willing to share it with people. Hopefully, somebody can learn something from what I experienced. And I'm learning, and God's continuing to heal me as I go out and talk to people. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to back up and not talk about the trauma and the drama that I went through that now has affected my body and the whole 9 yards. It's real.
It's real. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay.
Reggie, tell those who are watching and listening, and for those who will listen to this rebroadcast, how they can get a copy of your book.
They can go to Amazon and get my book. Just put in Drama Behind the Badge, a true love story. It'll come up. I'm getting ready to try to get in the studio so I can get Audible. They can go to Reggie, Reggiegridd.com. That gives them a bio of me, tells them a little bit about me, and they can order my book. I also have a website called dramabehindthebadge.com, which tells them all the events I'm doing, all about it. It's out there.
Man, you're becoming a celebrity, man.
No,
Man, you
no, I
oh
want God to
no
keep
now.
me humble. I want God to keep me humble. I want to continue to stay. It's all for me, Chief. It's about mental health
Yep.
for us, for the veterans, not only law enforcement, but first responders, dispatchers, and veterans, because we need to bring down that
That's
suicide
so sad.
rate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're right. You're right. You're right. Well, Reggie, it is always a pleasure to have you on You and the Law podcast as we talked about drama behind the badge, a true love story. And, we're going to be getting together again and putting some more dates together to get you to come back on and talk more about this amazing book that you put together. Because, again, it is definitely.
That's so he'll come back.
Yeah.
And what I wanted you to tell you, I've noticed just from being a guest on your show, is the interaction with the audience. I love it. It makes
Appreciate it. Thank you.
it brings a different vibe to the place. So I want to thank those people today, Dr. Kareem and other people that reached out, because people's time is sensitive, and I understand that.
Yeah.
And I want to respect their time, but I want to encourage them to kind of stay with the podcast and get their friends and family involved and get dialed into You and the Law.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Well, as I always tell people, go to our YouTube, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, and spread the word. Tell a friend to go to our YouTube. You and the Law podcast is on Facebook. Our website is www.youandthelawpodcast.com. Go there and you can click on all of our social media platforms. But again, I want to thank you, because for you to come on and talk about this book is very powerful. And so again, we're going to be getting together to get you to come back on and talk more about drama behind the badge. But again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And we got another comment in the chat.
Wow.
Dr. Kareem, appreciate it. Dr. Kareem says, great show. We want to thank you, Dr. Kareem, for taking the time to join us tonight on You and the Law podcast. So again, Reggie, appreciate it. And we will definitely be getting back together again to talk more about drama behind the badge, a true love story.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
All right, everybody have a good night. And again, Black History Month, get out and support and learn more about the Black history that we all need to, again, learn more about it. And that's what I'm doing every single day, is just learning more about Black history and talking about that Black history. So this month, we're going to be talking about having guests on who are in law enforcement, who've made history, and just acknowledging those Black men and Black women who are now a part of that history.
Thank you.
All right. Again, Reggie, we appreciate it. And we will see everybody again next Thursday right here on You and the Law podcast.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap on this episode of You and the Law podcast. We've got more eye-opening conversations and hard-hitting insights coming your way. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and stay ready, because the next episode might just change the way you see law enforcement.